Hello, hello, hello. I'm Erica Lynn, better known as Erica Lynn Speaks.
If I can think about it for a second, learn to live life for the better. I had hard times, got a life coach for depression, got a life coach for depression. Now it's all mine, living days full of hard times. Erica Lynn, work on your mind, let's get on your grind. Working on the feelings inside, Erica Lynn got me on the rise.
Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica Lynn speaks, yeah, yeah. Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica Lynn speaks, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, alright. Looking up when I fell on hard times. Hard times, they changed my mind. Got my head up, looking to the sky. Miss Lynn, she changed my life. Looking up when I fell on hard times. With her unique design. Got my head up, looking to the sky.
Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica Lynn speaks, yeah, yeah. Erica Lynn speaks, so the Erica.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rodney C Burris. I am filling in for Erica Lynn. This is the Erica Lynn Speaks show. I have the honor of interviewing somebody who has a great story, and I'm going to bring her on. But first, I want to just give a shout out to Erica Lynn. Very grateful for for her allowing me to fill in this space, to be in her stead. I had a great session with Erica Lynn myself. She's connected to some great people. They all speak highly of her, and I'm just honored to kind of follow in her footsteps. So today we have a guest. Her name is Tameka Citchen-Spruce. You probably have heard of Tameka because she has won awards. She has been an advocate for people with disabilities, and she has overcome some amazing shortcomings that probably would have knocked a lot of people, out the game completely. But some way, somehow, she was able to tap into a different mindset. So I'm going to bring her on and let her share her story. We're going to rock out for the next hour or so. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Remember to share, click that share button, invite some people, and join us on the Erica Lynn show. Without further ado, Miss Tameka Citchen-Spruce, please join us.
Hello.
Tameka. How are you?
Hello.
So one of the things I was reading your story, I was kind of getting ready, like, who is this person that we're gonna have a conversation with? And something happened to you, Tameka, when you were a tiny, tiny little baby, right? And it kind of shaped the trajectory of the rest of your life, and you were able to turn it into a positive. But it could have been real bad. So I know you just getting hit. I know we just jumping in. I want to jump right in. Tameka, what happened to you when you was a baby?
Yeah, so I was involved in an automobile accident with my father. And so that led me into acquiring a spinal cord injury, which is paralysis. So I am, based on the medical term, T2, which is like about mid-chest, T2 incomplete spinal cord injury, which is be paraplegic. So an incomplete means that I can feel a little bit below my paralysis, but I can't move. So
Gotcha.
yes.
That's literally what I was going to ask you. So with that, I understand not being able to move the limbs, right? But sensation, like pressure, is it pressure, Tameka? Is it temperature differences? Like is it any of those things you can pick up on? Like below your
Yeah,
paralysis?
yeah. So it is like extreme temperature, I guess. So like hot, cold, but it has to be like really hot, really cold.
Uh-huh.
Like sometimes I might run over my toe, I can feel that. But if you like touch my leg, I won't be able to feel that. So it's like
Gotcha.
only things that are extreme, yeah.
Gotcha. But that has not stopped you at all. You have won some awards. Didn't you get like a pageant of some sort? Like didn't you win some sort of like what was it? What was that title that you was able to win?
Yeah, so it was Miss Wheelchair Michigan 2006. Now I will say that I didn't originally win. Somebody
Uh-huh.
else did, but I was selected after the other two women did not go, and I became Miss Wheelchair and represented the state of Michigan.
That counts. That counts. So I never heard of this. Is this how long has that pageant been going on?
So it's been going on since I think 1972. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's been 50 years been existed. So practically, I think pretty much every state has a Miss Wheelchair competition, and then all the winners from each state goes to the nationals,
Mm.
where the winner will be Miss Wheelchair America.
Wow. And are you still connected to the whole program?
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, my friend and mentee is currently Miss Wheelchair Michigan 2022. So, yeah, I'm
So
very
how
much
did
connected.
one, yeah, like okay. How did how does one win it? Like what are some of the categories or like the different competitions that's involved with it?
Yeah, so it's not a beauty pageant, and they actually kind of walking away from using the word pageant. They like to say competition because really
Okay.
it's not based on beauty, even though there's, you do dress up and wear,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
evening gowns, but it's really based upon your advocacy, what you have done in the past to advocate for, people with disabilities and what is your platform speech and what do you hope to do, if you win.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. How many people do you guys like impact? Is it like programs that the participants are a part of and like outreach initiatives to kind of raise awareness and or advocacy projects? Is that like some of the work that's done?
Yeah, so each state winner and the national winner at the end of the year, they run on a platform speech, like a
Uh-huh.
platform. And so
Uh-huh.
then they will go out into the community, the state, talk about their platform, meet
Uh-huh.
with legislators, go to, parades and different engagements, and to, educate the community about people with disabilities.
Got you. So what's some of the things that you're educating people on these days, Tameka?
Yeah, so really, I am currently my
Uh-huh.
day job is I'm a co-director of a leadership program for um, people of color with
Uh-huh.
disabilities and their parents. So, we educate them on how to advocate for themselves or for their children and teach them leadership skills that they can utilize in the community. So that's what I do, like my day job. But also, I'm advocating for like criminal justice reform, housing, more affordable, accessible housing. So really like the issues that affect, women, girls, and people with disability, particularly those of color.
Wow. Is there a lot of like groundswell and movement around that? Or is it kind of like your interest something that's really, really new, but it's not a lot of advocates doing similar work? Is it out there, or is it just are you like one of a very few right now?
Yeah. So it's a movement that there's
Uh-huh.
a group of us, a few of us like in Detroit that does this type of work that's like grassroots. That's really what we are, we grassroots advocates. So but there's people nationally that's doing the work. Especially you see a lot of like DEI work and things like that. More racial reckoning, they say. So,
Yeah.
they also, we make sure you include disability into that conversation. So, yes.
How is that coming? So do you believe corporate America is really embracing the whole disability aspect of DEI? Is that happening more and more, or is the focus more on like still race relations, black white issues, maybe gender stuff? Uh, Where's that focus? Is it also being inclusive of disability these days, or is it more gender and race relations that you see?
Yeah, I think corporations are, coming around to disability. There is, I forgot the name of it, but there is a national organization that's what they exclusively do is work with corporate
Wow.
America, on hiring people with disabilities in, various levels and as employees and, managers and things like that. So I think
Uh
it
huh.
is being included, but it's not like a whole lot like we want it to be. There's more work
Gotcha.
to be done.
There's more work to be done. What's some of the projects that you're working on these days?
So besides, with my job with the leadership
Your day
program,
job.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, yes, because I'm so busy doing, different things. But then also, I love to tell stories, and
Uh
so
huh.
I'm a filmmaker as well. So I'm currently.
Really?
Yes, yes. So currently, just getting ready to do another screening at the end of this month on
Uh huh.
women with disabilities from the African diaspora, because I have different
Wow.
partners, international partners who's working with me. So we're going to be doing a screening and a panel discussion around, what it's like to be in the African diaspora.
So the film is already done.
Yes, the film is already done. It's called My Girl Story. Yes.
Tameka. Uh, You can't just slide that in. How'd you get into filmmaking? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. So my degree is
Uh
actually
huh.
in journalism, broadcast journalism. And so during the time, and it's hard to break into, like broadcast TV. So the film incentives were big in the Michigan, Detroit area. So that's how I got into film. So like was a PA, like a production assistant on student films and the TV show. And so it just kind of took it from
You was
there.
doing that
As
in college?
I'm sorry, say again.
I said you were doing that back in college.
You won't shortly after college.
Okay.
Shortly after college. That's when I got into. But in college, I learned about video production, and then prior to that, the community college, I did theater. So just I was always kind of like in the arts. So it's just
Yeah.
like a natural progression. Telling people stories.
So are you in front of the camera or are you behind the camera? Like, where's your comfort zone as it relates to that?
Yeah, so it's behind, definitely behind the camera. I
Uh
love
huh.
producing and screenwriting. That's what I really love to enjoy. So yeah, definitely behind the camera because that's like the people who have the power. Are people who can create the stories. That's
Yeah.
what I'm more interested in. Yeah.
Gotcha. And when you consider yourself to be a storyteller behind the camera, is that the directorial lens? Is that the screenwriting itself? Is that the production, like the producing? I know very little about that world, so I'm probably
Okay.
making up stuff that don't make sense. But like, so what's your particular angle into that world of being behind the scenes telling the story?
Yeah, so it's only producing. So like I come up with the story concept, or someone may come to me, so I can take their idea. Like for example, with my girl story, I took it from concept to distribution. So that's kind of like the role of a producer is to make sure that the project is completed. So
Mm.
it's that in the screenwriting.
How long ago did you guys start my girl story?
So that's been quite a while. I'd say about 7 years it took, and the reason typically films is it's a beast within itself. It's really
Uh-huh.
really hard to do films and stuff, but and so what took so long is like I had to self financing because that's one of the biggest issues is funding.
Uh-huh.
and things.
How
So I
was you
had to
able to?
self-finance.
Wow. How did you pull the funds together to finance it? Like, what was that process like?
So I used like extra money that I got, that I received to, pay people. Like I work with my director to find people to do the camera work and things like that and editing. So I, spent my own personal savings on it.
Uh-huh.
And then I did, for the distribution part, I did start receiving like grants um, to finish it, to get it out there into the community.
So is this project, Tameka, is it kind of like reality? Um or is it actors? You know what I mean? Are these actresses kind of relaying a story, or is this kind of like a documentary style first person real experience? Which one is it more like?
Yeah, so I've done both. So done a short film which was a narrative, and then with actors, and then I did my girl story is a documentary. It's about two African American girls from Detroit fighting to be the young women they want to become. So that is from two real young women.
And they both have disabilities, these Detroit girls.
Yeah, one of them does. One of them do have
Okay,
a disability. Yes. So that's that,
gotcha.
which was important to me because, and that's one of the reasons why I love, media, and it's part of my advocacy, as well, because I think media representation matters. Growing up, I never, seen anyone that looked like me. So, but I think, our stories, are important, and it needs to be on screen and create that representation so people can see what it's like to be us. And, so yeah, I just love, creating that
That's
representation
important.
on screen.
That's
Yes.
That's absolutely important. So when you say Detroit, because people like to claim to be from the D and they're not really from the D. So
Yeah.
like how far above or below 7 Mile are we talking? Like are we way out in Auburn Hills, Detroit? You know what I mean? Or are we kind of like 7 miles? Like where are we in Detroit? Like we Detroit for real, or we Detroit kinda?
Yeah. So the one of the girls is actually grew up, live, during shooting, live in Detroit. And the other girl, she was born in Detroit, lived in Detroit for most of her life, but she lived like what, 1, 2 miles
Troy.
away. So yeah, north of Detroit. But yeah, but I don't get what you're saying. Yeah, that's definitely, a difference of
Yeah.
Detroit or somebody
or,
that's
or not,
in the
right? And what
suburbs.
about you? Are you a Detroit girl for real? Or are you kind of like, outside of Flint, but still claiming Detroit? Like where you at?
Yeah. So no, I am a Detroit native.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was, born in Detroit on 7 Mile, I think around there.
Oh,
Was
that's
born
Detroit
at
for real.
Harry Ford. Yeah, Harry Ford Hospital. That's where I was
Uh-huh.
born. So yeah, and I lived in Detroit on Joy Road. So if people know Joy Road, they know Joy Road don't play. So that's Detroit, Joy
That's
Road.
Detroit.
But it's kind of rough a little around the edges, but Detroit got many beautiful parts too. So I'm not gonna,
So
miss.
I've been to Detroit, right, multiple
Yeah,
times, and one of the things that I like about Detroit is I'm in Baltimore, um, and Baltimore has a lot of the same features that Detroit has, right? It's an old city, an old industrial city, Baltimore and Detroit, and the city itself has its different challenges, its beautiful parts. People claim Baltimore, but they really might be from outside of the city. Like it's very, very, very similar. And I totally know what you mean about there's some areas that's for some folks is a little bit too rough around the edges, but it's home to a lot of people. It's produced some good people out here,
yes, definitely.
yourself included, Eminem, you know,
Yeah,
yeah, that's really awesome. So the film, Tameka, I know you're trying to do some screenings like overseas and here. Um, are people able to find your film? How can we find it? Do we have to wait like a couple of months before the screenings that happen, or is it already places where people can find it?
Yeah, so it's you have to wait till the screenings, but I'm currently in the process of finding a home, a distributor to take it to the public. So I'm in the process of doing that now. So yeah, you can watch it during the screenings that I have.
There is excuse me, there's a woman I would love to connect you with. Maybe we can talk offline or maybe during the show or whatever. She has a TV network, but it's a streaming service. And that might be a good relationship for you to kind of get it out. It's a service similar to like Hulu or Pluto. You ever heard of Pluto TV? Like all of
Yes,
those different
yes.
apps that have like all of those shows, Fubo and all of that stuff. She has one. They're based in Michigan. She's based in Michigan, right outside of Detroit.
Oh wow.
That's one of the reasons why I've gone to Detroit a few times just to kind of do that work. Very beautiful platform, and that might be a good option. One of the many, for you and your work to kind of get it out there. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'll definitely link you guys up later, and you guys can talk there.
Please do.
Tell your story to the world. So what's on your website? Tell us a little bit about your website.
Yeah. So you just find on my website like the type of people that I've worked with, a little bit of my story. You
Uh-huh.
see a little bit about my films. My short film, Justifiable Homicide, is up on my website. It's a 7-minute short film, so you can, watch that on my website. So just really get to know who I am and what I
Yeah.
do.
It's called Justifiable Homicide.
Yes, justifiable homicide.
What's that
Yes.
about? What justifies a homicide? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that is very loosely inspired by my brother's experience with police. This was, during the, with Trayvon Martin and different things like that. But so it's the dangers of racial profiling from a black suburban young man's perspective, because that
Wow.
happens a lot in the suburbs. Where get stopped by the police and things of that nature. Being a young black male, so I loosely inspired by my brother's experience with police.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember that whole Trayvon Martin period. I actually organized. We were actually going to take a bus from Baltimore all the way down to Florida just to kind of support and be a part of that. Ended up didn't quite falling through, but so you're a part of the social movement, huh? Like you've done some work around not just advocacy around, DEI issues, etc., but like some of this social justice. Tell us a little bit about that. Have you done more work around social justice initiatives beyond this film that you made?
Yeah, yeah. So I am, I would say trained, but I do have a lot of knowledge on, racial justice. And I really, the way I advocate is that from an intersectional lens. My shiro is Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term intersectionality. And so, like, when I'm advocating or when I'm speaking on issues, I'm speaking from, an intersectional point of view, as a black woman with a physical disability, because that we are disabled people are part of, it's like every demographic. So, when you experience life, like for me, for example, I experience life, I've experienced it from, a black person's point of view with racism growing up, from different peers and things like racism, and then dealing with as a young woman, being a brown skinned woman, and then from a disability. So, I've encountered experience from all three lands. So, yeah, so
Right.
everything you do is all, together.
That intersectionality piece is important. I never knew that term, right? Until last year. I'm embarrassed, right? I'm so far into my career, but I had never heard that term. And somebody asked me, was I willing to do a workshop on intersectionality in the workplace? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then I looked it up, and it was exactly what you said, which is when a single individual is representative of so many different demographic types, right? Your disability, maybe a gender role of some sort, or whatever it is, and you get 3 or 4 or 5 different demographics in one person. Well, that happens for everybody, right? And that intersectionality. And you want to know something, Tameka? I understood it enough to kind of get it, but I didn't believe I understood it enough to teach a workshop on it. So respectfully, I know they wanted to pay me, but I had to turn it down because I wanted to do it justice, right? Like I wanted to do a good job of really kind of knowing and embracing what it was. But you've kind of been in that intersection space your whole career. You've been a Black woman this whole time, right? You've been
Yeah.
a person with disability this whole time, right? You've been and so like Tameka, if you can, I know we jumped right in as soon as you got here, but when you go to different places and you're having some of these meetings, what's your story? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do you share with people that kind of shows your arc from the origins of Tameka, where she was, to the Tameka that's sitting with people today? Like, what's that story arc? If you went and just take it, like, just give us the long version, right? Tell us about Tameka and how we got to here. We're all ears.
Yeah. So it definitely, was and is, a journey to that. Like I said, I was born in Detroit, but, I did grow up a little bit north of 8 Mile. And but I went to, predominantly, white schools, and then like
Uh-huh.
elementary school, I was like the only Black girl, with a physical
Yeah.
disability with among my, peers. And
Uh-huh.
so,
Uh-huh.
and so it was challenging, you know, um, to deal with that and
Right.
navigate that, especially when um, when I was in school, you was labeled. This is during the early '90s to mid
Uh-huh.
'90s. That if you were physically disabled, and this is
Hmm.
just with the area that I was living in, that you was classified as POHI, which is physically or otherwise health impaired. That was your kind of like special education
Say that one more time. It's
qualification.
an acronym. You say it's FOHA,
Yeah,
physically or otherwise what?
health impaired. Health
Physically or
impaired.
it's POHA with a P.
Yeah, POHI, yes.
Oh wow. Is that
Yeah,
a
yeah.
national thing or is that just in Michigan?
That's nationally. I think they kind of gotten away from that now because if you have a physical disability, like myself, then you're
Uh-huh.
supposed to be placed into, your correct grade, above peers without a disability, which they call it, especially education terms. They say least restrictive environment.
Okay.
So, which means that you're supposed to be, if you have a physical disability, or I had a best friend who had cystic fibrosis. So he
Okay.
was, another person had another friend who was a little person.
Okay.
So, if you had some type of physical disability or, health condition where you needed assistance from like a special assistance, then, you were put into a separate classroom with other kids. But then I advocated for myself in sixth grade. I advocated for myself to be in a regular classroom with the rest of my peers who are not disabled. And so, but
Wait,
that,
Tamika. Tell us about so in the sixth grade, you were a little old sixth grader, 11 years old, 11, 12 years old, and you knew that people that was had the POHI, designation were
yeah,
trapped in a different classroom, but you wanted to kind of be in the what do they call it? Traditional, mainstream? What is that called?
Mainstream.
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 And so not necessarily your parents or your grandparents or any particular teachers or mentors, but you as a sixth grade young lady advocated for yourself.
Yeah,
What,
because I
okay,
was,
what was that experience like?
yeah, so I was mainstreamed half the day. So,
Uh-huh.
but I said I wanted to be full day. I wanted to be in with everybody else, which technically they're supposed to do anyway. But I didn't
Uh-huh.
really know that,
Uh-huh.
I just knew I wanted to be with everybody else, which was, I would say, which is important because what a lot of people don't know, especially during that time, if you were placed in special education, this is what happened to some of the other kids who were older than me and stayed in a separate classroom, that you're taught 3 grades below your actual grade level.
Why is that?
I guess because you have different learning levels, because some people with physical disabilities do have cognitive,
Like cognitive
learning.
that's not true
Yeah,
for everybody.
but that's not true for everybody. But they grouped, this is like again during the 90s, they grouped all of us together. And so because of that, you were taught, all of us were taught, you know, 3 grades below the actual grade. But luckily, because I was mainstream half the time, it wasn't so severe. It wasn't as bad. So I was able to test out of special education and be in a regular classroom, which I think should have been done anyway. And everybody that was younger than me with a physical disability, they went on to their school district. It was mainstream after I left.
What part of
So that was, yeah.
what so where in Michigan was this? Like this experience when you particularly was doing this middle school sixth grade transition from being
Yeah.
in a track environment to a more mainstream environment. What part of Michigan was this? And I think what I'm asking about is in that particular school area, school district, have you seen a difference in how they embrace and engage persons with disability kind of from your time there back when we were coming up? Because I was also in middle school in the 90s too. So I think
Okay.
I think we're on the same page, right? We might be around the same. So back when we were coming up, Tameka, versus where it is now, has it been a lot of movement or is it pretty much still the same in that particular school area district?
Yes, I believe it did change
Uh-huh.
because people who were younger, just a few years younger than me, they were mainstreamed automatically after I left. So
Okay.
like when
Oh
you know,
wow.
yeah, so everybody that was just physically disabled, they went on to their school district after that, after I left. So yeah, it did change.
So you was doing some trailblazing work, right? So like that's amazing.
I don't
Where
see
was
it
this?
like that.
Yes, it is, Tameka. You gotta embrace it. You gotta embrace it. Where were you in Michigan? What area district was this?
Oh, that was in Oakley County. It was in a city called Hazel Park.
Okay, okay. And so after the advocate phenom, sixth grade, 12-year-old young lady came through as a dynamo and was like, I want to be mainstream because I'm smart enough and I'm gonna test out all of this. The younger generation, well, not even the younger generations, like the next couple of years, they started being automatically mainstream. Tameka, that's an amazing part of your story, right? Like, there's a lot of amazing parts of your story. This is one of them. It because it knocks down doors and barriers, right? It literally is what So America is built on this whole idea of pioneering, right? This whole idea of the frontiers guys going into the wilderness and chopping down the trees in the wood and making way for people to come. Well, that's literally in its own way what your advocacy seemed to have done in the sixth grade for people that was like in the fourth or fifth grade, like right after you, third grade, second grade, right after you, automatically getting tracked right into mainstream because they had the cognitive ability, but just only had a physical disability. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's awesome. You do recognize that, right?
Now that you say it like that, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. Like they like teachers, and I had good teachers. I would say that my teachers,
Uh-huh.
were especially they were excellent teachers. It's just the system. I don't know why they did it the way they did, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, just but the way you say it, yeah, it does. Say,
That's
oh wow, it's kind of cool.
that is amazing. That is amazing. Oh, we got somebody trying to join us. It looked like our favorite producer was trying to jump in here with us. So Tameka, I have another question about that. How did you experience being a middle schooler? Um, the peers embracing students with disability? Like, was it a very hard thing, or was it kind of like they just took it as, oh no, regular, it's normal? It's like, how was that experience?
um, it was awkward. Like I did have friends um in middle school, but it's just really awkward trying to fit in, find well for me, finding my place,
Hmm.
in the school and finding like who my friends are, who my friends aren't. Of course, with having a physical disability, some kids, wanted to tease and say things, so I had to, deal with that a little bit. But it was awkward. That's what I would say. It was
I can
very,
imagine.
very awkward.
When did you hit your stride? Like, when you felt like these are my people, like these are my friends, I feel comfortable here. Like, what part of your journey was that? College? Was that high school? Was that middle school? Was that family? Was that as an adult later? Like, what part of your journey where you really felt like you found your tribe, your people?
Um, I would say it came in different phases.
Yeah,
High school, it was good. Oh, I would say it was good overall. Had its issues with some of the racist, kids,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
I am the same person I was back then, so I didn't hold my tongue and
yeah,
stuff. So sometimes, I got into it and stuff like that with people when they want to be, ignorant and stuff. But I had friends and things of that nature. But what I did struggle with was like relationship with boys, because that
uh-huh,
was during the time. As a young woman, you start liking
yeah,
people, and I liked boys and stuff. So I had some issues with that because they were always I was easy to be like friends with and flirting and things like that, but it never went past just flirting and friends. So I
yeah,
did have some issues, low self esteem that resulted
yeah,
from that because I felt that a lot of it was due to being in a wheelchair, and that's the reason why they couldn't go past that just friendship level. But in community college, that's where I met like all my core friends now that I hang out with are the people I met in community college, and
yes,
so that's where I found my tribe. And then when I won Miss Wheelchair Michigan, that's where I found my disability tribe and women who look like
yeah,
and stuff like that. So
yeah. So
it's
I
different.
love that. I love that because it's something very powerful and reaffirming about that, right? Like, finally finding my people where I can just be myself, my good, my bad, my regular. Like, okay, so you still stay in touch with them to this day, right?
Yes.
You know what? You being a filmmaker, okay, this will be, I'm gonna say this quiet, so hopefully they don't hear us. You being a filmmaker, Tameka, you gotta consider making one of those the best man type movies. You know, like the best man. He changed all the names, right? Wrote the book. He wrote the book and changed all the names. But I'm joking about that. But kind of that. I would watch it. I would be all up in there. I'd be like, oh snap. But being able to kind of like really put some of those great experiences, because you mentioned representation earlier. And I think a project, a film project or a book or whatever, but particularly because you're a filmmaker, a film project that showed the struggle and the acceptance of finding your tribe as a person with a disability. Right. So if I were to watch that, one of the things that helped me when I was a little boy was I read a book called Gifted Hands. And Gifted Hands was
Oh
the
yeah,
story of, you know about that book?
yeah,
So
yeah.
Gifted Hands
Big
was
Carson. Yeah,
Ben Carson, right? And so Ben Carson went on to become somebody, whoever he became, right? But at the time, Tameka, for me, um, he was a young black boy. His mom didn't have all of the wealth and education, right? He grew up in a single parent home. He had like a temper problem. He was getting in trouble, but he had good grades. A lot of his story mimicked mine, right? And then so for him to be able to go on and do some of the things that he did, I saw myself in that. I actually chose the college that I went to because of his story. I chose to go, yeah, because he was a pediatric neurosurgeon at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, right? Well, I chose to go to Johns Hopkins University, and they let me in because they're crazy, right? I don't know what those people was thinking, right? But I chose to go to Hopkins University because I wanted to mimic what I saw finally represented for me. And so I'm saying this, I think it's very powerful being able to tell young ladies, especially women of color with disabilities, especially, right? You may go through this in sixth grade, you may go through this in high school, but there's going to be a point in your journey, young ladies, where you're going to find your tribe, and it could kind of look like this. That's so empowering. That's so I. If you ever do that, please just hit me up like, Rod, I'm working on it. Do you want to see it? Do you want to?
actually,
Because
actually, I did. Yeah, actually, I wrote a feature length screenplay that's kind of
yes,
like that. Doesn't show the childhood way version, like what she went through her childhood, but show like being an adult woman and all the
yeah,
things. A little bit Jerry Springer in there, little drama, but but yeah, it
got to do
shows
that.
what it's like.
You
Yeah,
got to do that
shows
part.
what it's like. Yeah, yeah. So
So
yeah,
not to
but
make
that
you embarrassed, but I'm gonna ask you a question that's a little bit
okay.
embarrassing, but not to
Embarrassing.
make you real embarrassed, but this is gonna be a little bit embarrassing. So if I were to try to imagine myself being your target that you're helping, right? You mentioned young women of color dealing with their disabilities. You help everybody. You advocate for a lot of different issues, but that little person, right, being that voice, that advocacy. Sidebar: I love the fact that advocacy means to speak for. Right, that's literally if you break the word down. Right, an advocate is a person that speaks for, is the voice for. Right, so
Mhm.
being the voice for not all of those persons, but particularly the her. How would you tell her, given your experiences, to grow through that awkward dating phase, right? That phase where we're flirting, but it's not going so far. But then eventually it does or does. Like, how would you help that to shorten the pathway for those young ladies who, without a voice like Tameka's, would just kind of just go through it day, year after year after year after year with no kind of hope in sight, no light at the end of the tunnel? What's some of the light at the end of the tunnel, specifically as it relates around dating, that you would share for some of those young women?
Yeah, yeah, because yeah, that was definitely, me at 16, just like, having low self esteem, feel like I wasn't good enough. You compare yourself to other girls, who you think look better, whatever, whatever. So I would just say you have to learn how
Mm,
to, and it's a journey, but learn to love and accept yourself because, when I did not do that, I attracted the wrong, men, as an adult, wrong men into my life. So, but it's when I, it's like, okay, I gotta accept myself, I gotta love myself, and, and just be confident who I am completely. Then, I attract it because I am married, so then end up getting, married. Yes, yes, yes. I've been married for what, almost 11 years now. So,
Congratulations.
yeah, I got 2 kids and stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely a light at the end of, the tunnel to find someone, who will accept you, who will love you. And if they don't, then they're not the right person for you. And people used to say that to me, like, whatever, I'm not trying to hear that. It's like, where's my turn coming?
Right.
But, just, loving yourself, accepting yourself, and finding happiness in, in yourself too. Because sometimes when I think with dating, and this is the mistake I made too, that your identity, especially as a woman, your identity is based on whether you can be in a relationship or not, whether you have a man or not. And if you don't, or if you have an issue or something wrong with you, you can't get a man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just changing that narrative because happiness has to come from within. It can't be based upon, oh, when I get married or find my mate, then I'll be, happy. It's like, no. And then that takes too much of responsibility on that person when you make that person your sole happiness. You're going to be
Mm,
very disappointed. Now, you should be respected and loved
yeah.
and trust. You got to have all those fundamentals in a marriage, in a relationship. But to have somebody your soul happiness, like it's your job to make me happy. It's like, come on. You're going to
Tameka,
be,
that's so powerful.
yeah. That's kind of what
That's
I
so
love.
powerful. I have a buddy of mine. He says that all relationships are mirrors, right? And he's been
Yeah.
saying this for like 10, 11 years, right? And so at this point, me and him have kind of like got this whole theory about it. But you said something that kind of mirrors that theory, which is if I don't love or appreciate or like the me that I am, I'm going to attract some people in my life, some romantic partners, right? They're going to come, but they're going to come in the spirit that I currently am in myself. So if I
Exactly.
don't like me, right, I'm not feeling me and all that kind of stuff, when I bring them, when they come into my life, they're going to come not liking me so much, disrespecting me a little bit, reminding me of how not good I am. And because I don't realize, according to my homie's theory, right? Because I don't realize that they're just reflecting to me what's going on inside of me, right? Because I never kind of do that self work, that homework to notice that, I just look at them like, you're the problem. And it's not that it exonerates them, Tameka. Like, I wouldn't be bad if you loved yourself. Not that bullcrap, right? Not that.
No.
But really recognizing that if can we really look at a mirror? If we literally looked at a mirror, if I saw in a mirror something that I didn't love, right? I didn't like whatever it was, I could break the mirror. I could draw or try to do makeup on a mirror. Like I could try to fix but that doesn't make sense for a mirror, right? But
Yeah.
we get that. We understand that it don't make sense to try to change the mirror. If I really want to change what's coming back to me, then I got to work on the me that I am, right? And as I improve, the reflections, the relationships that's coming into my life have to treat me differently. And,
Yeah.
and so just hearing you say that, right, was really, really good. Like you attracted better and better people as Tameka became somebody. So, what was that process like? Loving and embracing the Tameka Citchen, who had all those experiences, who had the people picking on her, who wasn't in the mainstream sometimes. How did you love her with all of that in your face? How did that work, Tameka?
Yeah, it's a very interesting story that I actually told this. It was a storytelling event, and I tell this story. You can find it on YouTube at Twisted Storytellers. And so I tell the
Oh,
story. They tell the story of how actually when I came to like fully accept myself is when I got engaged. It's really wild. But I
Okay,
thought,
okay.
okay, like I thought, like once I, get engaged or find my mate and get married, that all my insecurities will go away. But what it happened was that my insecurities got louder, and I became even more anxious about it. Saying
What?
because
How? What was that? What happened? How
yeah,
did it get
I
loud?
don't know. It's just like I say, okay, yeah, this is my person. And he's like, yeah, will you marry me? Da da da. And then it's like one day I'm like, okay, I can't do this. And it was just shocking to everybody. And I was like, I can't do this because I started worrying about everything, just my anxieties and my dislikes just became louder. And so I had to say, okay, I didn't go see a counselor about this because this is not, my typical
Yeah,
behavior. But
yeah,
and I just got out of a relationship too. So, but with counseling and understanding the root of my issues and insecurities and kind of doing that self work for 2 years helped me, really accept myself and change my perspective on marriage and relationships. So, yeah, this is a wild journey, but thank goodness, I'm glad, thank God, I was able to go through that and just do that work. So
yes,
much better,
I,
become more, go into the marriage more healthier than
yes. So there's a saying that money doesn't change people, right? Money makes you more of who you are, more of what you are, right? So if you're already whatever it is, if you already whatever it is, money gives you an opportunity to really, really be that insecure, loud, angry, arrogant, dismissive, over whatever it is, whatever those things are. And so it sounded, Tameka, like in the relationship when you were proposed to, right? When you got engaged, kind of like the money didn't make everything better and wash everything away. The engagement didn't make everything better and wash everything away. The engagement made the Tameka that you were more pronounced. Like it magnified, like it was able to bring out more of who you were. And if parts of you were, like you said, anxious or those insecurities, it
Yeah.
came through. And so what was that journey like? I know I'm asking all. I don't mean to get in your business, but in my mind,
No.
Tameka, when I think about individuals like yourself with such a powerful story, um, you for me, Tameka, it seems that God blesses certain people to kind of do the long math work, right? Like the long way, the long division, or whatever it is, and then be able to give shortcuts to people. Like, oh, you see all that? Actually, if you just do, or if you use, I remember when I learned the 9 timetables, a finger trick. I don't know if anybody knows that. I ain't gonna go through that right now. But somebody taught me how to do my 9 times tables using my fingers. In an easy way that just made sense. 36, 45, 54, right? And it blew my mind. And so when I'm asking these questions, that's the spirit I'm coming from, right? It
Yeah.
is not just to digging through your long work, right, your scratch sheet, but from that scratch sheet, from that long work, what's some of the tricks and trades that you found to make it work? You got a pizza delivery? I want
No,
some.
that's my daughter.
I want some pizza, Tameka.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, it was definitely, like I said, a journey, going through counseling. And that's what I really, if not anything, I am a big believer in mental health, a big believer in counseling
Uh-huh.
and, changing your thoughts about different things and paying attention, what you say to yourself and, going to, therapy to help deal with that because that took me a long way, and it shifted the way I saw things and the things that I dealt with, and it really unearthed a lot of stuff. It healed me, in so many ways, and it
If, I,
continues to
if
heal
I'm
me.
16, if I'm 16 if I'm in the 6th grade, if I'm 12 years old, and I'm a little young woman of color, maybe with a disability, I might not know how to even get access to a therapist or a counselor.
Yeah.
What do I do? Like what can I do if that's my situation, my story? What's a workaround maybe?
I would say just the basics, like find out who you are. That's something at 16 you definitely could do. Find like what do you love? What are you good at? What are your values? What matters to you, as a person and develop, you as who you are. Because it's a journey. It's a process. You're not gonna wake up and be like,
Like
and
boom, boom, right.
yeah, I still have my days too. It's not like I'm superhuman or a robot. I still have my days and things like that, but I know how to, change the way I see things, and know who I am. So I think, like I said, to find out who you are, find out like your likes, your dislikes, what you love, what you value, find purpose. That's what really grounded me more than anything else is, having a purpose. Because my mom, took me to church and stuff. So having God and having that created a foundation in life of faith and value and principle and the way you operate, really and purpose really grounds you and it helps you, weather the storms that comes against you.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Tameka, we're getting close to time. Is there anybody, is there any other like major final thing you want to share before we get out of here?
Just, thank you for having me and Erica as well. And Kim, I did see his comment. We went to school, elementary school together. So we give a shout out to him for, inviting me to be on the show, telling me about it. And just, yeah, just encourage people to, love yourself, accept yourself. That's the same thing I just said is for adults because, we a lot of us are still dealing with, childhood trauma and things like that. So that's something good for, any person.
Absolutely. How do people find you? How do people find you? Want to do more about your films, etc.?
Yeah. So you can go to Tameka Citchen-Spruce.com. Also, you can find me on Facebook. You can follow me. I'm also on LinkedIn. And to find my girl story, you go to mygirlstorydocumentary.com.
That's awesome. Tameka, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a
Yes,
pleasure.
thank you.
Absolutely. Guys, that was such a great journey with Tameka. Just insight on what it's like to be a little girl dealing with disabilities, being a black girl in a predominantly white environment, right? Also dealing with disabilities and just some of those challenges and struggles. I'm really glad that she got to show us not only just the steps that she took, but really like now what can we do? Given her experience, what can we do? It was a great time, a great conversation. I'm glad to be here, and I want to make sure that you guys stay connected because next week Erica Lynn is going to be back. She has a surprise. She has an announcement to make. So she's going to kick me out of this little chair. She's going to come sit down herself, and you got to make sure you get that. But once again, shout out to Tameka Citchen-Spruce for sharing her story, for being vulnerable, for letting me ask all of those kind of invasive questions. What was your love life like? How do you date? All of that kind of stuff. She was game for it, and she opened up, and she kind of gave some, shortcuts for us all. So once again, I am Rodney C Burris. I do leadership mindset development training. I have a best-selling book on Amazon about breaking old habits and building new ones. It's called Get Off the Cycle and Run. So if you want any of that, if you like how I talk, my book sounds like my voice, right? So if that was good for you, you'll be able to find stories like this, analogies, etc. in my book. I'm very grateful to be here. Shout out once again to our producer who made this all happen again. And Erica Lynn, enjoy your break and get back soon. I'm Rodney C Burris. Out.
This podcast was brought to you by EricaLynnSpeaks.com. Sign up for your free consultation today at EricaLynnSpeaks.com/work with me. And just remember, it only takes just one step beyond you.